Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades. We're looking at the ES futures right here, and we're also looking at the NQ. So we're going to start off here on the ES. Usually I start on the ES when I make these. And so overall, price is going into this large uptrend. This is such a big uptrend. It's over many, many days. When you're in the moment looking at the smaller picture, it's not always going to affect, your trades because it's so large. But this uptrend is a lot smaller, and it actually had a big influence on today's price action because after this uptrend got a break, you can clearly see that price is attempting to make these two attempts at a new high from the low of today. And so basically starting off here, when price got a break, the low of the overnight is the overshoot of this downtrend that's forming here. And so when price starts pushing up here, I started trading right around 8 Central Time, which is right around this chop here, right as it was breaking this downtrend. And so basically the downtrend has a break. When a downtrend gets a break, we can expect price to attempt a new low. And also on the bigger picture, when an uptrend gets a break, we can expect price to attempt a new high. And so when price breaks this downtrend here, we have to consider that there's a larger trend in play, and that we could get a short-term play out on this downtrend initially. Whoops, I didn't mean to. There we go. So when a smaller trend gets a break, or I should phrase it as when the break trend gets a break, because this downtrend is the break of this uptrend. And so when this gets a break, I would like to see it play out in order to make an entry to get a larger long with the larger trade. So I hope that's clear what I'm saying here. So this uptrend has a break. We can expect price to attempt a new high. And so I'd like to see this smaller downtrend play out with a break in two legs to a new low. That way it's played out, and it's valid to look for longs now. It's safe to look for longs now. And so that could give us a good opportunity for a long to get with the larger trend. So anyway, we push on up here. Now you can see price, you can see those two legs down here. It's very choppy, but from here to that swing, we have our first leg, and then we have our second leg down. So price does make two attempts at a new low here. It's just extremely choppy, and then it kind of just shoots up out of nowhere, and then there's not much room to these highs, which I wouldn't want to expect price to push past because, these two attempts at a new high, these two attempts at a new low, they're very thin. It barely broke this channel right here. I mean, it's a good push out, but it's just pushing along right alongside it. And it's not forming clear swings. It's just really, really choppy and unclear in this whole area. And so I didn't want to just enter expecting it to break on out. It could have just held off those highs there. But anyway, price pushes on out. We make this new high. So now this uptrend has a break and a new high, and this downtrend has a much clearer break. And so we can still look, price might still make a new low for this downtrend here. So we have to consider that. If we get a good entry for a short to make a new low, we can look to get in on that push to a new low. However, considering the bigger uptrend, more likely what's going to happen is two attempts at a new low for a long entry. And you can see here that after that bigger break, we have two pushes down here. It just doesn't provide us a perfect entry. So we have this range going sideways here. The downtrend has a larger break, and price starts pushing lower here. Again, this would be a place where you'd want to see a failed second entry hold below the EMA. For a short, you would definitely want room to the lows of this range here, though. But price pushes on down. It doesn't form that. It just pushes all the way down to these lows, starts pushing back up. You cannot take this lower high here safely because price just pushed off the lows, and you have to play the range rules. When price comes off one side of a range, you are likely to see price reach the other side. So you want to wait for two attempts. So that's invalid just because of that. Now here you get your two attempts, and you can see it would have worked for 1-to-1 it looks like, but that doesn't mean it's a good entry. Price spiked up off of these lows right here, very bullish bar closing above, pushed back below, but then immediately got back above, held above with a couple bars. So I wouldn't want to just expect it to hold off the EMA here. It was clearly struggling to get back below, and it was right after a very bullish push higher, while price is attempting to make the second bigger picture attempt at a new high for this larger uptrend. And so I would not want to go short there, let me see if it worked for 1-to-1 just because I'm curious. It did not actually, but it's obviously extremely choppy anyway, just coming off that low. There's no way you'd want to enter that. We have this trend line working higher here, and that also has to do with this right here, this long. So at this point here, this, you can see that price made two attempts down. So downtrend, break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower. Now this right here, it didn't hold off this trend line, which, it started holding right there because we had this swing there, and then it kind of struggled to get through it there. It had a good push off of it there. And then this did push lower, but it's not off of the support. This down measured move is still in play. Considering how choppy it is right here, and also that price is right into that trend line, price could just push a little bit higher, reach these highs, and then plummet on down, stop you out, and reach this measured move, or at least this range low. So it's just a bit risky. In this case here, it does take on off, but I don't know it's going to do that, so I'm not going to enter there. So anyway, we push on up, and we continue with this second bigger picture leg. So you can see this uptrend has a break. We have our first attempt higher, second attempt higher. So price action gets bigger picture in real time. At first, this is your first attempt higher, and then this is your second attempt higher. And then these are your two attempts to reverse. So just to be clear, uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, and then failure. These are the two attempts to reverse on the failure, and then that could not get very far. And since basically the failure failed and is now pushing higher, that is creating the second bigger picture leg, and we have to draw out this measured move because price could react to it. And so as price breaks out of the overnight high, when price breaks out of the overnight, you don't want to just buy the breakout. It could easily fade back in. So you want to wait for two attempts to fade in order to get long and buy the breakout. But you need two attempts to fade. You can't just expect it to break out without the two attempts, because it's very common for price to fade all the way back in. But if price makes two attempts and then holds and pushes above, then that's telling you the bears don't want to fade back in, or they're not able to. The bulls are winning out. And so anyway, price ends up just reaching this measured move without offering an entry on the way up, and it has a sharp reversal right at that measured move. Now, considering how bullish it was overall, even though these were the two attempts at a new high for this uptrend, so it could be argued that it's played out, I wanted to wait on confirmation just because these two legs up, they were so bullish, and it's with this uptrend. I just wasn't expecting it to hold perfectly on there. I wanted to see it push below the EMA and get a clear entry. And so I did not take that here. Price held on this EMA at first, which further kept me out. I wanted to see it below, but then by the time this bar finished, it just shot on down in like 1 second. Very quick. It kind of went crazy here. And so we retested the overnight high right here, pushed off, and then on the way up, this is a opportunity to get a couple legs back after the retest, because if price pushes up here, makes a couple legs back, then this downtrend would have two attempts at a new low, and it would be a failed second entry on the low side of the count. So anyway, we push on up here, we find more resistance. When price finds resistance here, this is another chance to get a reversal back down. It just needs to set up well below the EMA. If this resistance level proves to be strong and we get a push off, we can look to play it and look to basically get in on a fade, but we would have to consider this trend line here, especially as price moves more over to the side and gets closer to it. And so anyway, it doesn't really hold. It just pushes on through after a slight bounce, and then it kind of got choppy here. It's an iffy area when it's chopping up and down between this trend line high, or this trend high, and this measured move level. It's just chopping back and forth. And so it's kind of going into this range right here. Price broke out the highs and pushed out the lows. So from this swing here, we have this new downtrend, break, push to a new low. The entry is right into that measured move level right there. I actually didn't analyze the last bit of this here. So yeah, downtrend is a break, push down to a new low. We pushed out, and then looks like it's starting to fade back in here, and then it of course shot to the other side. So let me move this over here. You can see that this barely closed out. After this closes above and triggers, it definitely looks good to get in with a limit order. But considering this overshoot of this trend right here, And overshoots lead to breaks. It's very common for overshoots to lead to breaks and sharp reversals. And so, it does fit well off those highs when you extend them, but you can't just, you can't extend them instantly. This was the initial swing, overshot here. Now when you extend it, it is fitting well. Still barely overshot there, but the point is overshoots tend to lead to breaks. And so even though we have 2 attempts down here, I don't like how it's not holding above the measured move level right there. I mean, it held on that level there, even though the wick got down there. The body's clearly held on that level there. Again, right there. And then, it closing below right there. It's very iffy because these do commonly lead to reversals. I'd be afraid of just it ticking higher and then stopping you out just to reach this key entry point down here. This downtrend only has 1 leg to a new low, and considering that the larger measured move is still in play, it would not be unlikely for price to attempt a second leg to a new low. So downtrend break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower, and then a push up. So, I completely missed this here actually, but, it does not look perfect to me anyway, so it's whatever. Anyway, price is pushing up. What we could get is a couple legs back down, retesting these highs for a long. That could give us a good long. It's pushing past this measured move completely, so clearly that's not enough for it to reverse down. So, if we get a good failed second entry from this low count, push up, 2 legs back, could offer us a great looking long. Something like this. Couple pushes down, retesting. And yeah, so that's really going to do it for this ES portion. I'm going to hop over to the NQ. NQ is a lot more exciting today, that's for sure. I already uploaded the trade recording from the NQ from, this morning. And so, let me get my OBS thing ready. And there we go. So, here is the NQ. Let me just zoom on out. Let me adjust my mic setup real quick. Okay, so I hope that wasn't super loud moving my mic. So anyway, overall in this uptrend here, again, kind of like on the ES, we have this smaller uptrend within it, and we have this break. And when an uptrend gets a break, we can expect prices to attempt a new high. And so what we have here is price breaks with this trend, goes into this thinner trend here, and then it overshoots right as price was overshooting, was when price made the overnight low here. And this is what we have. After the overshoot, we have first attempt higher and then second attempt higher. Now initially what this was an uptrend with a break, and then we can see we have this attempt at a new high, and it barely made the new high with the bodies, and that pushed it into a reversal, but that quickly held right here. Basically what you end up getting is an uptrend with a break and 2 pushes to a new high, attempting a new high, and then a failed reversal, because when it starts reversing it fails, and that failure makes that measured move get met. And so anyway, we have this measured move in play. The measured move target is right at the trend line right here for a third bounce. Great place to catch a short, just to ride it down. At the time, this range looked like this, so it was also a range fade. And so yeah, basically this uptrend, even though it was clearly in play, after it had the break, we had our 2 attempts at a new high. Now obviously these are small picture attempts at a new high for the size of this uptrend. However, it's one price action level at a time, like I always say. And I was looking to catch a short-term reversal, not even expecting it to break any of the structure right here, just expecting a short-term reversal, a short-term failure from these clear attempts at a new high. And so that's what we got here. This is recorded. It's the last video on my channel if you want to look at it. And we got these 2 legs down. You can see that's the first leg down. Price ended up holding on this trend line right here. So clear first leg down, break, and then our second leg down to the overnight low. And where we got a good retest with these couple pushes higher here. And then, when price pushed up here, we got these 2 legs. It ended up just getting really choppy. And you can see I ended up extending the range to where that high was. So it started pushing sideways and going into this range. Let me draw out this measured move real quick for you. So this measured move was in play. It did not quite meet it. After that second leg, it started pushing lower and then made a final 2 attempts to reach it before pushing on lower. And when price pushes lower here, it could have made a failed second entry and held below this and retested the this dotted range low right here, and it could have gotten us a short, but ended up not really setting up anything here. It just made this lower high after a very bullish push through. So I did not want to take that, but it does end up making a second leg down. We get this good hold, and here is where there's a long opportunity. Now you can see I circled this bar right here, and I'll explain that in a sec. So basically what we had here, price was working down here. Price pushed through. It closed out of this trend line right here. We had a good reaction, triple test off the overnight low. And as we're pushing higher here, I ended up waiting for this bar here. Even though this bar closed above the EMA, I still didn't enter after the trigger because with how far it pushed back down there, I just wanted to see more of a bullish reaction before entering long. Especially because with this uptrend being in play, it had, with these two attempts up, it's one on a bigger picture. We actually had two attempts at a new high at that point. And so when price was pushing down here, I was thinking, oh, it could be failing. Now it did hold. I just wanted to see more bullish confirmation just in case. And so that's why this bar is circled. So after this bar triggered, I put in a limit order and, got filled on a limit order. And so price made a couple attempts down here, just basically making a break between these couple legs up, and then pushed up to the highs and ended up pushing way out of these highs here. So that's what this trade is here. We push on through. When price breaks out, kind of like on an overnight level, you want to wait for two attempts to fade before buying the breakout. And obviously, in this case here, when price broke through, you're also breaking this downtrend right here. And so the downtrend has a break, which this downtrend, it's drawn like this. You can see it cuts through there. I extended it. When it's all the way extended, it's fitting well right here. You get a good retest. But just because we're getting a retest on this level does not mean that I will want to go long. I still want to see those two attempts to fade. So I just want to be clear on that. Even though it's combined with this retest of this level here, we also just broke out of a range, and it's really common to get fades. So it's still not good enough to go long right there. But it does end up pushing higher. We make these couple legs up, and then price makes this reversal attempt. It attempts to fade back in. And so this is why it's important to wait for fade attempts, because, when price made this new high, you can kind of see price was working up on this trend right here with this trend line, and price broke it. And breaking this structure was the real first fade attempt after breaking out. And so two-legged break, basically it made a double top, so it could be a count reset, but it could also just be a two-legged break and also two attempts to fade. So everything is correlated in price action. While it's making these two attempts to fade, it's also making a two-legged break where we can look to get in on making a new high for this uptrend right here, which I'm going to draw this with another. There we go. It's just a little easier to see. Or wait a minute. I just want it to be a little easier to see there. So basically, uptrend break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, and this was a no fill. I saw this late. It was all the way up here when I tried to get in, and then it just kept going higher without me. So we push on up here, breaks out. You can see these two legs higher. So, and one thing I want to clarify, because I realize I might have misspoke slightly a second ago. So when we have these two legs pushing out here, at this point, I don't view this as a two-legged break necessarily, even though you have two legs pushing out of this uptrend. I view this as a break with two legs to a new high. The way I think of two-legged breaks generally is when the second leg pushes past the swing of that first leg. So I wanted to clarify that there because I kind of misspoke a little bit. So price broke the uptrend, made our first attempt higher, and then two legs back down, and then that's the opportunity for our second attempt higher. As you can see, I already explained, no filled. So anyway, we push on up here, we reach that measured move, price starts pushing down. Now considering that price is really starting to reverse here and moving along with the overall trend and making that new high for this trend, this larger uptrend, I did not want to immediately go short here. It would have worked for a good short directly on the measured move, but you know, it's definitely just seemed risky because it's really starting to go along with the overall trend now. And so I just would want to see something clearly hold below, and and it's also going into this uptrend now too. So I didn't want to go short there. But we push on up, we make this new high, and you can kind of see price makes a failed second entry on the way down. So it's not a good short right here, but it's worth noting that price action, it works the same all the time. On the way down, it made a first entry long, second entry long failure. So it still made that reversal pattern before going lower. And that pushed us into these two legs down here. So first leg down, break, push to a new low, sharp reversal. And of course, that reversal from this trend playing out is also the break of this wider trend. So we'll see what price does. If price pushes below, we could get an opportunity to make the new low and get in on the second bigger picture leg down. So you have to always be combining these legs and thinking about the bigger structures that are forming. So now that we have this break, we could get a failed second entry. Price pushes below, you could get a couple legs back holding below the EMA for a good short. However, with this uptrend also being in play, what price might also do is hold above the EMA. So we have to, what we do depends on what price does with the EMA basically. If we push up and get a couple legs back down, then that would be a failed second entry stemming from this low, and that would be an opportunity to make the new high for this uptrend break right here. And that's if price is able to hold above the EMA and it can't get below it. But if price shoots below the EMA and it's bearish and it can't get back above, then what we'd want to see is 2 attempts at a new high for this uptrend right here in order to get in on the failure. And that could happen with that would be the bigger picture setup. So like if it has this push up here and then a break and then another push up with a sharp push below, or it can make a smaller setup and just push below, make a couple legs back, make a failed second entry, basically just a short opportunity to get in on that second leg down. So I just wanted to make this video explaining what's going on with the ES and the NQ. Nothing on the ES for me today, just the NQ. And yeah, so I hope this video helped out. I hope you learned something from it. I feel like I was kind of talking fast this video. I hope I was speaking clearly. And yeah, I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.